Thank you. So, hi and welcome. My name is Salomey Osei. I am from Ghana and I am currently with the African Masters of Machine Intelligence in Ghana. So, I'm currently working on credit risk modeling using machine learning. So, this is what I'm going to be talking about today. So a little bit about myself. I graduated the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology with a bachelor's degree in mathematics. After this, I joined the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences in Cameroon, and I did an MSc in mathematics. Then I came back to the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology to enroll in an MPhil degree in applied maths. Alongside this, I am also doing the African Masters of Machine Intelligence program, which is currently running in Ghana, and the project I'm working on is what I'm going to present today. Even though it's not done, so I'm going to give you insights on how to model credit risk using machine learning. And so if you have any question, you can ask me as I move on. So the outline for today will be the introduction, and then I'll talk about risk management in general, the type of risk that we have, and then I'll dive into credit risk modeling, which is the main topic for today, and then we'll run through all of the methods that we have for credit risk modeling, some of them, and then we'll conclude. So, over the past years, financial institutions have faced different types of risk, especially what we are going to talk about, the credit risk. And you can see that these risks affect them massively and can lead them into going to big losses and even bankruptcy. So, as a company, it is very, very important to look at all of the risk that is going to face your institutions. So, in this case, the institutions that we are considering is the financial institutions. What is risk? They are unexpected outcomes and damages that can cause a company to close or shut down permanently. And some of the sources of this risk can depend on the financial uncertainty, the legal liabilities, management errors, accidents, natural disasters, security in terms of IT, the quality of the data that the company is having, and then the model that they used in making the decision. All of these sources gives large and huge risk to financial institutions. And so as a financial institutions, you need to take care of all of these things. You need to look at all of these risks. Now, identifying the risk. So what is the management of these risks? The management of these risks is for you to identify the risk, to assess, and to find ways and means of controlling these risks that are affecting your institution. And then why are risk management important? It is important because it poses a lot of threat on the institutions that you have built. You've used a lot of money to set up these institutions, and going on bankruptcy or the company collapsing leads to massive, massive loss. So it is very, very, very important that you manage your risk well as a financial institution. What are the risk management processes that are available? There are 5 steps of risk management process. So you first of all identify the potential risk that can face your institution. Then you sit down to analyze the type of risk that you are dealing with. Is it market risk or any other form of risk that can affect your institution? Then you sit down to evaluate the risk, how much input this risk can cause your, how much damage this risk can cause your institution. And then once you have identified all of those risks, you can start the treatment process. So you start treating each risk or some of the risks are not, you're not able to treat them. So you think of a way to manage it. And then the management and monitoring and reviewing of these type of risk that you have is the last stage that is found here. What are the type of risk that we have? We have the credit risk, we have the market risk, we have the liquidity risk, and the operational risk. My research focuses on credit risk modeling, and which is what we are talking about today. Now, what is credit risk? Credit risk is defined as the risk of potential losses to a bank due to the fact that the bank gave out some money to a borrower and the borrower was not able to pay back. And why do we pay attention to credit risk? Credit risk has been the risk that is faced by most banks. Each and every bank gives out loans and they expect some interest in return and for the borrower to pay them back what has been taken. And then the loans are the biggest and obvious source of credit for these banks or institutions. And also the fact that credit risk requires the most capital amongst all of the other risks because you are giving out huge sums of money and it is draining your accounts. How do we model credit risk? And when we say we are modeling credit risk, what are we looking for? We are trying to estimate the probability of default and then the loss given the default plus the exposure at default. What do I mean by these terms? Exposure at default is the credit exposure as a credit exposure is the total value a bank is exposed to when a loan defaults. So when an individual decides not to pay back the loan, the total value that the bank is exposed to is the exposure at default. Now, the loss given default is the amount of money that the financial institution will lose when the borrower does not give back the loan that they have taken. The probability of default is the likelihood over a specific period of time that a borrower will not be able to pay what they have taken back. And if you want more insights on these type of exposures for the credit risk, Investopedia, this is taken from Investopedia, so they have a very good article written about these exposures, probability, and loss given default. What are some of the decisions to be made when you talk about credit risk? So what we want to do is that we want to either give the loan or refuse to give the loan to the individual or the borrower. Or we want to increase the lending and spending rates or decrease the spending and lending rates. So those are the decisions to be made in terms of credit risk. Now, before machine learning, there were statistical methods, which are traditional methods, which were used to model credit risk. Now, logistic regression is an example, elastic net penalty is an example, multimodal regressions are all examples of the traditional methods that are used to model credit risk. This research focuses mainly on the machine learning models. Why do we not want to use the traditional methods? Because we realize that when we have a data, the traditional methods will not consider the non-linearity part of the data. So it means that if I have a data which is complex, the traditional methods are not able to perform well on it. And then also, machine learning methods have attracted important interest for different applications from life sciences to finance. We all know that machine learning is now what everybody's chasing after, and it seems to be doing well. So, researchers have made it a point to apply some of these machine learning techniques onto different types of skill, different areas of sciences, and credit risk has also gotten its share. What is machine learning? Machine learning is the study of computer algorithms that improves automatically through experience. You can also say that it is the core technique of AI involving the learning of from the data sets. And then also it is the subset of data science that uses statistical methods to draw insights and to make predictions. Why machine learning? It has the ability to capture nonlinear relationships in the data, as I already said, and it is able to detect patterns in a data. If you have a data set and you know nothing about the data set, clustering algorithms are able to help you find patterns in this data and to be able to understand the type of data that you are dealing with. Machine learning algorithms are also predictive models that can learn from training data sets to make predictions. It is also said that the magic about machine learning solutions is that they learn from experience without being explicitly programmed. So unlike the statistical methods that we have, machine learning is able to learn from whatever you have given it and be without learning from anything, so without being explicitly programmed. Now, the types of machine learning that we have the supervised learning and the unsupervised learning. Supervised learning, you have a target, your data set is labeled and your machine is trying to draw inference from it. And then for the unsupervised learning, you're trying to learn patterns in the data. So with supervised learning, you are dealing mostly with prediction and classification, whilst with the unsupervised learning, you're dealing with clustering of the data. Now, credit scoring. So credit score itself is a number between 300 and 850 that represents a customer's credit worthiness. So between 300 to 850 is the standard. So for a credit score to be good, it means that you need to be more than 300, but maximum 850. Now, to know the credit worthiness of a client or a borrower, you need to check two things, which is application scoring and then the behavioral scoring. The application scoring comes at the beginning when the person has not yet taken the loan. So what you want to do is to get to know the person very well, where they live, their geographical location, what type of work they do, and all of the information that you need to gather about the person before granting the loan. The behavioral scoring has to do with when the loan has already been given to the individual. So in this case, you are trying to learn the pattern of the person, how the person is trying to pay back the loan. Is the person paying it according to what is expected? Is the person likely to default, not likely to default? So those are the two types of credit scoring that we have. Now, some of the techniques for credit scoring. So with the statistical based credit scoring models, we have the linear discriminant analysis, we have the Markov chains, we have the logistic regression. Now, in Markov chains, you're dealing with a stochastic model that is describing a sequence of possible events in which the probability of events depends only on the state attained in the previous ones. And then with the LDA, you are trying to find a linear combination of features that separates two classes. For the machine learning based methods, we have the artificial neural network. So the ANN, which is trying to mimic the behavior or the pattern of the brain. The random forest and the gradient boost are all tree-based algorithms used for credit scoring. What are some of the factors to consider in credit scoring? You need to consider your financial indicators, your demographic indicators, your employment indicators, and then the behavioral indicators. Finances or financial has to do with the finance aspect of the person, the demographic, where the person is coming from, the employment, whether the person is employed or not employed, the behavior, as I explained before. Now, machine learning deals with data. To do machine learning, you need to feed the model data. So the type of data that you use to build a machine learning model depends on the task that you are dealing with. For credit modeling, we are doing classification because we want to know whether the client will default or will not default. So in practice, the more data you feed the model, the more accurate the results will be. What are some of the steps to do or to take when you are performing credit risk? First of all, you need your data. And when you have your data, you need to do some data exploration. You need to get to know the data that you are dealing with. Is the data balanced? Is it imbalanced? When I say balanced, how many classes you have in the data? So one class might be more than the other class. So it can be that when you predict, the model would give you a very good accuracy, but will just be sampling from one class only because the one class is higher than the other. So you need to explore the data and clean it very well before you can model anything. And then you also need to do data transformation. You need to transform the data. For example, if you have strings, you know that if you are dealing with the neural network, you need to convert the strings into values so that the machine will be able to learn. Or if you are dealing with any of these methods that do not accept strings, you would have to work on the strings to get them out, to convert them to numbers for the machine to understand. Now, one thing that you also have to do is feature selection. You need to select some of the features that are important for your model because you don't want to have a lot of features and a lot of training time, but then whatever that feature is not adding up to anything. It's not making any impact on the results that you have. So you would have to drop some, you would have to introduce some features, and so you would have to go through all of these processes. Now, after this, you would have to fit your model. So it's either you're using your logistic regression, you're using deep learning, or these random forest, gradient boost to fit your model. And then after that, you are going to interpret the results that you have. So after training your model, you need to evaluate the model that you have done. So in essence, you have to find some of the evaluation metrics for credit scoring can be accuracy or the area under the curve. Now, the accuracy is the proportion of true results among the total number of cases that you have examined. So we have the true positive plus the true negative divided by all of the cases that you have examined. And then the area under the curve is the probability that the model ranks a random positive example more highly than a random negative example. So it's showing you the relationship between the true positive and then the true negative. So, concluding, I would like to say that machine learning has contributed significantly to credit risk models applications. And then loan default prediction is also important to financial institutions. And hence, it uses credit scoring to distinguish customer default or non-customer default. So if you need any references on some of these works, you could contact me by mail and I'll be willing to share with you some of the resources that I have gathered. And thank you so much.
Thank you. That was really informational. Does anyone have any questions for Miss Salami? Any questions? You can say it or you can put it in the chat. But I actually do have a question in regards to just like your journey to this research and everything you had to go through. Could you just discuss your journey and how you came upon like credit risk modeling?
Okay, so while I was doing my MSc, I had always wanted to do finance, but I didn't have the opportunity to do finance. So when I got the opportunity to do machine learning, I knew I had to apply it to the finance that I had. So I spoke with my supervisor. My supervisor is um, Professor Jules Salifokandem. He's at the University of Montpellier in France, and he proposed um, credit risk modeling. So this is how I came into credit risk modeling. So I read a lot of books and papers to try to see if it was going to fit what I wanted to do, and it did. And I finally settled on credit risk modeling.
And did you encounter any challenges along the way, like with your
Yes,
schooling and stuff?
yes.
Discuss
As a
that.
as a female, it's not easy to be doing a lot of these coding and reading too much and things like that. But I would like to say that if you put your mind towards something, you definitely be able to achieve it. Um, Getting funding for these projects and all those things do not come easy, but they come as a result of hard work. So the more you work harder, the more you push harder, and then you are able to do what you want to do.
I'll open up to questions again. Does anyone have any questions about credit risk modeling or just in general about her schooling, uh, her experience, anything like that? Okay. What would be a
I have,
recommendation? Oh,
I'm sorry, I have a question.
okay.
Um, what does being part of the African Masters of Machine Learning entail? Like, what's that about, and what does it entail?
Okay, so here in the African Masters of Machine Intelligence, we're learning machine intelligence. And I remember putting in an application just like any normal person. So this year, I heard that there was an exam to be taken before you would get accepted into the program. So you go through the normal application, just like applying for any master's degree. You might be called for interview, or you might be assessed differently. But first of all, you need to have a graduate degree, a bachelor's degree, sorry, a bachelor's degree from a university in either physics or maths or closely related fields to be able to get in.
Okay, so we have a question in the chat. Why did they decide to have an exam this round?
Actually, I have no idea why they decided to have an exam this year. It's probably a format that they devised. It depends on the admission committee.
Um, okay, I have a question. Do you have any like recommendations for the women in STEM in the chat? I mean, in this presentation right now, like any just like advice, recommendations,
Recommendations in terms of
just like being in the field, like as a woman.
yes, I think that for women, what makes us not want to do these STEM courses is the fear. So I would want to use this opportunity to say that these things are just huge names, but in practice, they are not difficult. So if you put up your mind to something, you definitely will do it. So we shouldn't run to the other courses thinking that they are easy and these ones are very difficult. Of course, they are abstract and it needs a lot of hard work, but still it's possible to do it.
Okay, I'll open up for questions one more time. If anyone has any questions, any like last questions.
Hi, sorry, I have a question. So how can we contact you?
Okay, so I'm going to drop my email in the chat, and anybody is free to send me an email and I'll answer you gladly. So yeah, you can also find me on LinkedIn. It's Salomey Osei. That is my name. And on Twitter, my handle is at Nanaya Sally. So that basically is my local name.
We have another question. Can you share more information about the entry process of AMMI and how you scaled through?
So I mostly believe in the motivation. The person that is reading your application does not know you and possibly might not be able to interview you to know what you possess and what you don't possess. And also the CV that you write. So your motivation should be in line with what you want to do. You don't need to know everything that is being done in the program. You just need to know what you want. So if I want to use myself as an example, I knew I wanted to do finance. So when I was writing my motivation, I am very sure that I mentioned finance and that I wanted to use machine learning on finance. So and any person who would take my application would know the exact path that I want to tread. And so it would be easy for the person to understand what I am trying to say. So mostly, I don't think they want any generic motivation letters. You go online and you take what somebody has written and you try to modify it and make it become your own. That is not you. Look at the background that you have. If you're from physics background, what area of physics do you do? How can machine learning help in that area? And if you're a biologist, what aspect of biology needs machine learning? So you focus on what you have as a background and what you can machine learning can help you do. I think this should be enough to convince anyone reading your letter that you are ready for a course.
Another question is, did you just finish your bachelor degree and go straight to master's? Would you suggest one should first join the workforce in order to be sure that that's what they want? Hello.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. Um, so we have another question. Did you just finish your bachelor degree and go straight to your master's? Would you suggest that one should join the workforce in order to be sure that that's what they want to do?
So I think that after your undergraduate degree, you're confused. For me personally, after my undergraduate degree, I knew I wanted to do a master's, but I wasn't so sure of the area that I wanted to do. That is normal. So I developed the passion and to do machine learning when I entered into the core program of my master's degree. So there was the taught master's program and there was the core master's program. So after the taught master's program, we were introduced to data science courses and we did machine learning with one lecturer that came. So that was where I found myself. So if you're bold and intelligent at that time enough to choose a career path that you want, for sure, you can have a master's degree in machine intelligence. But if you're like me, who didn't know what you wanted, you might want to start it slow.
Well, thank you for answering. Yes, thank you for answering all of our questions.
You're welcome.
Yes. Does anyone have any other questions before we wrap?
Yes, maybe a quick one.
Okay.
Yeah. So is the application for the AMMI open at all times, or just they open in once a year or a specific time? Yeah.
Okay, so it opens at a specific time in the year. So I think currently they are screening applications for the next cohort. But normally, let me type out the website here so that if you want to check the website out in case the applications are open. I mostly do not know the time that the applications are working, so that is the problem. So, but it opens once a year. And you can contact anyone who is an alumni of the AIMS network or the Army network, and anybody would be willing to assist you. If you find problems with your application process, just like I said, I've given out my email and my LinkedIn. You can contact me anywhere, and when I'm available, I'm going to answer all of your questions and to help you out with the application if need be.
Okay. I have not seen the okay. Seen it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm just gonna see if there's any last questions. But I just want to thank you for taking time out of your day to present to us and just tell us a little bit of what you do and just show us what credit risk modeling is and to explain about like your journey and your work with AMMI. It was really helpful for a lot of the learners too. Okay, I think that's it. I don't think there's any last minute questions. And for people who just came in. Okay. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for agreeing to speak. I know you're really busy, so
Yeah.
we appreciate it.
Okay.
I think there's one. Okay.